Starting with a Fox News alert, Israel striking back at Hezbollah after the Iranian-backed terror group launched the deadliest attack on the Jewish state since October 7th on Saturday.
Trey Yingst, our colleague, joins us live from that Israeli town hit by the attack. Trey, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Right now we are in the Druze community of Majdal Shams in the Golan Heights at the site of that rocket attack that took the lives of 12 young people just yesterday. I want to show you the scene here, a scene of pure devastation. We arrived this morning as funerals were taking place, a small community mourning the loss of these young lives. There were scooters here and bicycles. Kids were playing soccer when a Hezbollah rocket slammed into this field. You can see the impact site right here. To describe what took place here is to describe a massacre. We spoke with a doctor during the funeral who was one of the first responders to this attack yesterday, and he said he desperately tried to save a 10-year-old boy who was covered in shrapnel wounds, and he was unsuccessful. We spoke with a father whose young daughter was killed in the explosion, this rocket attack launched by Hezbollah yesterday. And speaking with this father, I asked him how he found out that she was killed. And he said he tried to call her again and again, and the phone was busy. And he arrived here at this field, and his 10-year-old was lying dead here among so many other children. It gives you a sense of just how violent and catastrophic these events are. And as we speak, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is preparing to convene the Israeli cabinet. We expect a major Israeli response to the Iran-backed group Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Officials speaking with Fox News overnight say they are preparing for what could be days and days of cross-border exchanges. This is very much a turning point in the ongoing conflict that started between Israel and Hezbollah on October 8th, just one day after the October 7th massacre. Guys, back to you.
Trey, thank you so much for bringing us that information and showing us that horrific scene where there's been so much tragedy there. I think we still have Trey, if we could pull him back up so we can ask him a couple questions. Is that right? You talk about how this could spark a wider war. That is the major concern. And, we say that Israel is fighting a one-front war right now. That's not really true. Hezbollah in the northern border has always been an issue. But there is concern that things could escalate. How much concern is there in Israel, and what does that mean for us here in the United States?
Look, there is major concern about the possibility of a broader war between Israel and Hezbollah. Already, over the past several months, Hezbollah has fired thousands of rockets into northern Israel, but they've stopped short of targeting major cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. If the Israelis go on the offensive tonight and strike targets around Beirut or other Hezbollah strongholds, it could be another step up on the escalation ladder, but they are really left with what officials here on the ground tell us is no other choice but to respond following the tragic attack that took the lives of 12 young people. And really, when you speak with the civilians here, they paint a picture of anger and deep frustration about the ongoing attacks, the rocket fire and the drone attacks that have been launched by Hezbollah that have really been nonstop over the past 10 months. Now, the question here is how Israel will respond. It is not a matter of if, but rather when. And if that response will draw more rocket fire into northern Israel and possibly deeper into the country. But I go back to the individuals here on the ground in Majdal Shams and speaking with that father. And he told me he is prepared to fight. So many of the community members here along the Lebanon border say if the Israeli government and military don't make a decision to bring the fight to Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, they will do so themselves. They are really beyond frustrated about what has taken place over the past 10 months. And this tragic incident yesterday, a rocket attack against young soccer players, kids that were here just trying to enjoy their evening, really highlights the devastation in this ongoing war.
And Trey, what can you tell us about these early response from the IDF into Lebanon? Has that been fairly limited, and do you expect more?
Absolutely. We understand that what you saw overnight, some of the artillery activity along the border between northern Israel and southern Lebanon, along with some of the airstrikes that continue to take place even at this hour, this is not even the initial response by the Israelis against Hezbollah. This is simply the ongoing, really back and forth that we have seen along the border here over the past 10 months, there will be a significant response, a direct response to the attack that killed these 12 innocent people yesterday. And we do expect that to happen following the cabinet meeting, likely in the nighttime hours, with Israeli jets in the skies of Lebanon.
Trey, there's been so much attention obviously put on Hamas and Gaza in the south, and much of the conflict in the north has been basically ignored by the international community because despite all those attacks that you mentioned, they haven't really been successful in the sense that there haven't been innocent people killed. That changed yesterday in a horrific way. Is there a sense of why this rocket attack hit civilians and actually was able to penetrate Israeli defenses?
Yeah, so the Israelis are still investigating how this Iran-made rocket actually made its way to this location, because as we know, there's a lot of air defense in this area. Israel's close-range missile defense, the Iron Dome, is often active along the border with Lebanon. And there have been questions, including questions on a military briefing that I was on last night, about why this rocket wasn't intercepted. Now, the initial explanation by the Israeli military has to do with the trajectory of the rocket. It was fired at relatively close range to the border and also at a low altitude. And so it made it hard to intercept. The Israelis were not able to get off an Iron Dome interceptor round to try and stop the rocket from landing in this community. We also have to think about the proximity to Majdal Shams, to the border. We are talking about a matter of seconds, even on a day where the sirens and alerts work in the right and correct manner. And I just want to show you here, because this is a really important part of the story, how close we are to a bomb shelter. And it is tragic. It is simply tragic. There's no other way to describe it. The impact site is here, the crater there, and there's a bomb shelter right here. And so these young children who were trying to get off the field when a brief siren did sound, they were coming out of the doorway that we just exited from, and that is when the rocket hit this area. And the amount of shrapnel that we've seen across the ground here is also significant. They're still going through the area trying to look for pieces of these kids, and it is a horrific reality of this war. But it is something that we have to bring to you because this is what Israel is dealing with, and it is part of the reason you will see a massive Israeli response to this rocket attack by Hezbollah, an attack that we should note Hezbollah is claiming for the first time since this war began that they didn't launch, but that's not true. They absolutely launched this based on all the evidence that we have seen and all of the intelligence gathered by the Israelis in the immediate aftermath of this strike yesterday in northern Israel. And
just to be clear on something you said a minute ago, the rocket was manufactured in Iran?
Yes, it is an Iranian rocket, and it also speaks to the issue that the Israelis are dealing with because the Iranians still to this day are smuggling rockets and missiles and precision-guided components into southern Lebanon that are now being used against the Israelis.
Yeah, and apparently only Hezbollah has the type of rocket that was used in the strike at the scene that you are in right now. Trey Yingst live for us in the Golan Heights, where 12 young children playing soccer just lost their lives playing in a park. Trey, thank you.
Thank you, Trey.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.